it giving? Daughter, is it giving?
Am I giving? Daughter, am I giving? Is mother giving? Is mother giving a 5, 6, 7, 8 cents? Is mother giving? Am I giving, daughter? Am I giving? Is mother giving?
100.
Is mother giving a 5, 6, 7, 8 cents? Is mother giving? Wake up!
Is it giving, daughter? Is it giving? Welcome to part 4, the final part before y'all get them darn pictures that I don't even know y'all excited about them, but I'm gonna act like y'all excited about them, and this is gonna like feed all of you all for a century. You're gonna be full, you're gonna be satiated for a century after you see those photos. But I just came on here to just kind of talk about how I pieced everything together, because I've talked about the backstory, but I haven't really talked about how we got to the final product in terms of execution. So, after I had the dream, I was like dead set on making this look now. I couldn't put it off anymore. It was like this has to happen. And so I took the proper steps to make it happen. And so at first, y'all didn't know this, but at first that shirt that y'all saw was supposed to be a bodysuit. And I was gonna wear the bodysuit with the fishnets underneath, and then the, wrap over skirt, and then the top. But it didn't quite work out that way. And so I tried to make the bodysuit out of this chiffon. And so you're working with chiffon. It's not stretchy, it's not forgiving, and it's thin. So you don't want to push it to its limits. And so I took my whole time trying to put the invisible zipper in the back, making a pattern, making a sleeve pattern. I tried that whole on. It wasn't going. My legs was too thick. The legs was too thick. Y'all see that? Y'all see all that? Push it, what P? And I think the crotch wasn't done properly. That and the length of it from like here down to my hip or lower waist was not measured properly for some reason, or I didn't put on the proportions weren't right, and so it wasn't fitting basically, and so I had to snip that whole bottom half off.
The pivot queen.
Oh, and then when I snipped that off, guess what? I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna fit. I put it on. Tell me why it was big. Like it wasn't fitted to my body. Of course, I had made this pattern back in like 2020, late 2023, 2024, but I wasn't expecting my body to have changed that much. So now it was time to take it in, but it's like this is chiffon. And it had a zipper in the back already, and the thing was already constructed with the sleeves and all already attached. So it's like, how am I about to go in? And like, I didn't want to go in on the sides. I don't know why I didn't want to go in on the sides, but it wasn't working out to where I was going to be able to go in on the sides. Cause the stitch I did a straight stitch, and then I folded it over, then I did a top stitch. So I wasn't finna undo all that to go in on the side, so I decided to do like a dart in the back. So this is editing Chris here. I also did the darts. I just remembered as I was editing, I also did the darts because not only did I need to take it in at the waist, I needed to take it in at the top part, like my shoulders, and like that upper part needed to be taken in as well. And there's no other way to do that, because at first I was like, maybe if I gather some fabric right here at the shoulder or do something like that, but that would make the sleeve hole smaller to put my arm through. Mine eventually said, put a dart in there. I don't have to manipulate any other seams I've already put in, so I just put a dart in there. That's why I put the darts. But I did a double dart, and y'all gonna see what I did. But not any old regular dart. I didn't do like darts at the because I had to take in the waist area, and I had to take in this upper part too, because the shoulders were loose. Well, not the shoulders, but this upper back part was loose as well. And so, an easy way to take care of that is a dart. So basically, I'm cinching in 2 points in the back. I'm taking a bit of fabric, and it's like pulling it together and making a dart. And I did a full dart, like not the triangle. I did like the diamond darts. And so so you mark a diamond basically, and so these 2 points on the end that my fingers are touching, those 2 points are going to come inward, and that extra fabric is going to be on the inside. And so now this fabric is cinched from here to here at whatever measurement you needed it to be. And I knew my measurement, so I did the darts accordingly. Started at a certain point and then came down to a certain point. They were kind of oblong, so the top part was longer and the bottom part was like shorter and fatter. And then I had to dart some more. I need some more fabric, so I had to go in at the top as well. Now at this point, some of my sewist friends or people that do pattern drafting are watching this and saying, well, why didn't you just do a shoulder dart where you pinch at the shoulder and then go back? It was because I didn't want to take any of the seams out. I'm telling you, I was being extremely lazy. Chiffon unravels very easily. It frays very easily. I was trying to do anything I could think of to avoid doing that, because if I were to make the dart, it would have to end up here at the shoulder, and so now you have a pinched piece of fabric sitting on the shoulder, and that's not cute. So I think the contour darts were a great compromise to make everything I wanted to happen. And so yeah, and do another dart, so it kind of made this 1-2 kind of shape with both of the darts in there, and they connected to a point. I don't know what type of mathematician science stuff I was doing, but I just chop it up to I'm learning and I'm getting better with sewing and stuff. So I kind of figured like, oh, okay, if I can do this like this and then do this like this, it'll work. And then sure enough, when I zipped it up, it was fitted. Now getting in about that zipper by yourself is very difficult, but it was fitted to perfection. And so now after I got that complete, I knew that I wanted to put butterfly. I eventually figured out I wanted to put butterflies on the sleeve, but then it was like, how am I going to do that? And so I knew I had like some iron on. Every time I have to say this on video, I cannot remember the name. What is this stuff called? Not backing. Whatever this is, I use some of that to make the fabric stiffer so that it can hold more of a shape. So that when I put 2 of them together, I figured out, okay, I put 2 together because it may show on the other side on a sleeve, because you know a sleeve is like you're going to see the outside of the butterfly and the inside, however I turn it. So I didn't want that part to be shown, so I was like, okay, I gotta do another layer. And then I got the idea, let me do different color fabrics on the other side, because butterflies in real life, they're not always, they don't have a design on the top part and the back part, because the back part is how they protect themselves from predators. When they close up, they blend in with their environment, and when they open up, you can see the beautiful design and stuff. And so I worked that out, the idea. I had not executed it yet. And I knew I wanted to put that on the sleeve, so I eventually marked the sleeves. And then I had this little bottom edge moment going on. Like, how am I going to finish the end of this sleeve? Am I going to just hem it real quick, fold it over twice, and then hem it real quick, do a, I forgot what type of hem that is, but do that, or am I going to add something to the bottom? Am I going to add a little ruffle? Am I going to add a little whatever? And so it took a lot of time of me just playing with the silhouette in my head and like how I wanted the silhouette to be at the end of the day. Eventually, I ended up coming up, this was more so at the last minute of it all. Not the last minute, but the last weeks leading up, I decided I wanted to do like this, think like kind of gothic sleeve. I can't even think of the name of it, but it's kind of my fashion language. I'm sorry. Yeah, think like a draped, not draped, but like a cascading type of sleeve moment. And so instead of just doing one side where it kind of went like this is kind of the shape of it, and it was gonna be like hanging, but I wanted it to stop in my pinky, so I wanted fabric and then, you know, add a asymmetrical, and then the point ends here. And then I was like, oh, what if I double it up? And then I doubled it up, and the reason I doubled it up is because of the panty. Now the panty, that was a whole other situation. I was trying to figure out how I was going to make this panty out of this chiffon, because I wanted to match the shirt, because remember, I was going to do a bodysuit, but that didn't work out. So I was like, oh, I can make the panty out of the same chiffon. I'm over here looking up videos how to make panties out of non-stretch material, and I couldn't find no information on how to make a pattern out of it, because I like to make my own patterns a lot of times, rather than buying them. I was like, how am I gonna make a pattern for a non-stretchy panty? I've never made a panty, let alone a non-stretchy panty that's gonna be fitted, because I want these to be fitted. So I ended up having to go to the fabric store. I ended up getting some either jersey or what is the name of that material? I got this, whatever this material is, and I was like, okay, it's stretchy. I can make it work. It's soft looking. It's pink. It kind of, I had took a reference picture of the top, or the fabric from the top, and I was like, it kind of match up. So I get here, and then I put it up to the shirt, and it wasn't necessarily matching up perfectly. The colors, and I was like, but I mean, I was like, I guess it can kind of work. And I know I'm going to put the little butterfly in the front for the panty, because I had to design those elements, and well, how is this all going to tie in, because there's going to be peeking through the bottom of the skirt. So it has to have its own design elements as well. So what I ended up doing, I tried to dye it black, so it just all just kind of blend in. That didn't quite work out. And because I didn't use synthetic dye, I used dye for natural fibers, and that's like a cotton spandex blend, and it was more spandex heavy than cotton. I thought it was more cotton heavy than spandex, but I should have known. So it didn't quite work out, but it did darken it, and so I decided to just layer the lace over it, the black lace that I had from previous projects that I thrifted. And I was like, oh, I can layer this over it and make it look all like sexy and stuff. And then it'll like blend right in with the fishnets, and the butterflies still stick out. And so when I did that, I was like, that's when I got the idea to do the double layer lace on the end of the sleeve. I already had this skirt idea from the bottom of the suit jacket in mind this whole time, but I had not executed it. I still just had like a bottom half of a suit jacket that I did a blanket stitch around the top of it to keep anything from fraying or whatever, because it is like a woven wool type twill. It's kind of like this wool twill moment. And so I did a blanket stitch on there like few years ago, but I had the piece still sitting there because I knew I was going to use that piece of fabric for this look whenever I decided to work on it. Then I had to design that element. So I was like, okay, so how am I going to attach this to my body? How is it going to be fitted? I was like, let me do buttons. That's going to be the easiest thing. We can do buttons. It'll work. It'll work out. And so I had that part down, but then I was like, then I wrapped it around with the top on with some of my first fittings, and I was like, it needs a little more. And so then I decided to, one day I was in the mirror, and it kind of flared out at the bottom a little bit, especially when I was a little bigger in my waist. The way it was situated on my waist, it made it flare out a little bit more than the final product. And I was like, oh, I can take up like this half of it and kind of play with the proportions and kind of make it more upscale a little bit more. So I had that idea in the back of my mind. Didn't really know how I was going to execute that, because I've tried to do that before in the past with other projects, and I didn't really execute it well, but I have gained more knowledge. So I was like, maybe I can work it out. I was like, what elements can I add to this to make it more, to make the look more, so it don't look so basic? Because I mean, when we really think about it, the design elements to it, the patterns for it are pretty basic. You got a basic bodice, sleeve, invisible zipper in the back, neckline, easy. Then you got a simple panty, elastic at the top and on the sides, and or the legs area. And then you got a skirt that's already somewhat constructed, so there wasn't too many design elements going on. So I was like, I need to add more. Why not, boo? And so I kind of, I'm creative, so sometimes I get like little, what can I add to this? What colors can I add to kind of balance things out? I'm all about balancing things out. And like inverse colors, that's like part of my brand. And so I had it on the fitting. I was like, what if I add like a little white line here? And what if I add like, I can add a little, take a little bit of that spandex material and put it around this little pocket lapel thing, and I was like, and that was kind of what I had at first, and then I ended up adding like the crosshatch red stitch down the white line on one side of it, and adding the cloudless sulfur butterfly to it, kind of making it. And then at the last minute, I ended up adding this last butterfly, and I kind of put that on the other side with the pink to balance it all out. And by the time I was done, I was like, I like this. I know when things are going to work out in my head, and so. And that was done. Well, I had that design element. I had not executed it yet, but I had that, mapped out in my mind. Then I went on Procreate. I mapped all this out. I have been practicing my makeup, like how I wanted to look and all that, because I'm not that good at makeup. Like I'm just getting started. I don't know a lot for real. But I do know eyeliner, and I do like to do little designs. I knew that was like going to be the main element. And I knew a little bit about concealer, but I didn't really have, all I had was like a color corrector or whatever. But I was practicing, trying to make it look good for the final, because this is a process. This is part of the styling. And so when it comes to the makeup, let's talk about the makeup, child. So with the makeup, I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna do this. I know I had figured out. I looked at my eyes. I don't know if y'all can really see it here, but when I look in the mirror without these lights and stuff, there's like a line right here where like the eyelid is a little darker, and then this part is a little lighter, and so it's like a line right here that kind of ends like right here, kind of. You can kind of see the indentation, but it's kind of like a line right there. I was like, oh, what if I did like a zoop and then did the eyelash and then do a little wing? I was like, that kind of remind me of butterflies, especially if I do it on both sides. So I practiced with that, and I know I want to do it like a lip line, and I'm a little cheeky sometimes, so like y'all see me with the belt across my chest and like wearing that. I didn't know it was a trend at the time. I thought I had made that up. I didn't. But I was one of the first in that era to start doing that before everybody started wearing belts as shirts and different stuff like that. Because I kind of like a little cheekiness sometimes. Like right now, I got these white dots on my face, no concealer, no nothing else. A little cheeky. I got all this don't even really match, but I kind of made it kind of work and balance out. Look at the nails, by the way. These are my pride nails. I've been getting into doing my nails as well. And that was another aspect we're going to get into. And so I was like, I played around with it. Then I got some more products, and I played around some more. And then I was like, made adjustments, made revisions. And then I was like, then I tried that last time, and it was really similar to what the final look ended up being. But it was a little more ratchet because, I be having to remind myself to take my time. But by that time, I had so much practice, it was getting better and better. And then I just went in on my phone app, and you can draw and edit and stuff. And so I just drew on the little dots and stuff and kind of played around like, how do I want this to look? How do I want this to end up looking? And what's going to give butterfly, and especially like a royal beauty, like all the things. And so I just kind of ended up with this design, and this isn't the final look, but I ended up with this design. And so I was like, okay, so we got the makeup done. And so for the nails, I was like, we going all out. We got the fishnets, we got the heels. By the way, I had already had them. I cannot remember if I bought these heels specifically for the corporate baddie look or for this look, but I think, if I'm thinking correctly, I designed both of these around at the close to the same time, if not the same day. I think I bought the heel because I knew it was going to be multifunctional for both of the looks, and so that's why I ended up buying the heel. So that was already a given. We already knew it was going to wear that heel. I was, scavenging the internet for some butterfly fishnets that was plus size, because the leggings and stuff be made for the skinny girls. So I was like, make sure, because my measurements, it wasn't matching the measurements on that site, and I was like, I don't want to rip my stuff up. Ended up finding some butterfly fishnets. Got them, that was gonna go under the panty. I want to do under the panty because, I was cheeky, and plus the panty had design elements as well. I didn't want to hide that underneath, so knew it was gonna be a top. Plus I was somewhat inspired by Megan Thee Stallion and by Doja. They were kind of doing that same kind of look, and I was like, okay, let me do the same thing. Because there was a thing that I was playing with in my mind. Am I going to do like a plain panty underneath, or do one on the outside? And I decided I want to do outside, but then it's like, what am I going to add to it to make it, more? So we had the makeup done, panty, we got that figured out. Well, first I was just gonna do like, I didn't know what I wanted the butterfly to look like. At first I wasn't gonna do a butterfly, honestly, on the panty. And then I was like, okay, let me just take this fabric to tie, like make the panty tie in more with the shirt, because the shirt does have like a orange, peach, purple, white, and black. This is kind of the material right here. If y'all can see that, wait. Y'all can kind of see like it's kind of striped, and so that's what I was working with. I was like, how can I tie this panty in with this, especially given that this pink doesn't really match, even though I dyed it. And so I just took that material, made a butterfly, and then I took this bleached corduroy. It used to be navy, but I bleached it and it's kind of pink. I still got some more of that fabric, and I kind of use it in different elements of my design. You know, whenever I feel called to pick up that and cut out a little something real quick and make a little patch, whatever, that's when I use it. And today, well, that day was one of the days. And so I made this intricate, I designed it myself, so I ended up throwing it away. But basically this was the pattern for all my butterflies I did on the sleeve. Here's one of them right here. Y'all can kind of see the finished product of that. And so I'm going to get into that in a second. But I took this pattern and I made some little intricacies, cutouts and stuff, because when you look at a butterfly, monarch butterflies and different stuff like that, I'm going to just insert a picture of a butterfly. When you look at them, they kind of have like, when you look at them in sections, they have different little sections and stuff of their little design. And so I was like, let me do the cutouts with that, and then the background could be this material. And so that's what I did. Boom, boom, boom. And I had to execute that, hand sewed the whole thing. It was a whole process. And then I attached that onto there. Boom. And then I was like, oh, you know, we are male. We have typical male parts. And so I was like, okay, so when it kind of bunches up in that area, it's going to kind of, the butterfly is going to kind of be in that, or like flat in the front. You know, either way, it was going to be clean and cute. Then, you know, we had to execute the skirt. That was one of the last things I did. I made a pattern for this sleeve, the black lace on the inside, and it also ties the shirt in with the panty as well. So I did certain elements to balance it out and tie certain things together. That's just my whole philosophy when it comes to making outfits and when it comes to doing certain stuff. You gotta pull it in. Like if you got this shirt and it may not go with these pants, maybe wear a necklace, maybe wear a little something to tie it all together. And that's just how fashion works in my eyes. But the last thing on the butterflies on the sleeve, I ended up, because when I put them together, they don't have any dimension for real, and I don't have any wire or anything to put in there, because that was another option, but I was trying to, you know, be cheaper. I spent so much money by this point. I'm trying to spend all my money on this one look, and so I was like, let's get resourceful. So I used my iron-on stuff, and I was like, okay, so both of them are going to have the iron-on stuff on the back. So when I put them together, I do a blanket stitch around the edge to attach them together. On this part, I thought, like, you see this middle part right here, and you can see where the folds are. I was like, if I fold it like this, it adds dimension. It makes it more 3D, and then I can kind of fold it down or whatever. And yeah, so that's kind of how that happened. So once I attached everything together, I sewed a line right down this part right here where you see that line, and it made it to where it was like this, and that's how they have that dimension like they do. This is getting really long. I'm trying to finish up. The last thing was just the nails. I was like, I know I had some nail polish, but I ain't that good at doing my natural nails, and I'm not about to go pay to get them done right now, especially just for a little fashion look real quick. And so I was like, okay, let me take my time, pulled out a little black nail set real quick, did a little top coat on there, and I called it a day. And that was another aspect I wanted to do, tie all the black in with everything. And you know, of course, with the facial hair, we're gonna cut all this off, do a little mustache, kind of what I was doing around the time. And initially, this was one of the nice things about money. I wanted to wear this. I want to wear this butterfly. It's really a moth, but I want to wear this as my nose ring, because you know, we got a nose ring now, we got to take that into account. And initially I was going to do this one, and the earring, I might thrifted these a while back, and then I saw them when I was trying to think about how I'm going to style and curate this look after I designed it. I was like, oh, this matches that fabric really well, as you can kind of see. Hold on. That goes. And so I was like, okay, so we're gonna do, the gold accents to match everything to this. And so originally it's gonna be this earring with this nose ring. I ended up buying another nose ring similar to this, which you will see in the pictures that I insert. But it was, well, not similar to this, but from the same brand, but it was gold and it was like thick. I was like, and then one day while I was doing the fitting, I tried the earrings on and it had that one in still. I was like, oh, I like this. But I was like, let me make sure. I tried this one on and it's so small, like it's so little, it's not even really noticeable. So I was like, I don't want that for like a fashion look, for an editorial look, whatever. I want it to be noticeable. I want all the things, but that gold on that tied in so well with that, and it just made it look so regal and royal. I was like, yeah, that's the one. Then the crown, the crown. This is the last part I want to talk about. So at first with the crown, this thing went through many iterations, as I talked about in one of the other parts. I knew I wanted like some type of headdress. And that I could at least take off or something like that. But I needed something to act as my crown because I'm the butterfly princess. I need a crown. And so at first I was like, let me do like a brimless cap, because I've been wanting to do a brimless cap for a while. I have done one kinda, but it didn't. I was like, I can rework that, but I was like, of course not just the brimless cap. We're going to add design elements. So I was imagining it with these things on there. So imagine this as the brimless cap. So this was kind of the idea I was going for. It was going to have label. I really didn't want different labels and stuff. I tried out that design. I tried to. I'm not a headdress designer. I'm not a headwear designer. So that was already iffy. But I was trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? And so I started, and there isn't many pattern instructionals online and stuff unless you buy somebody's pattern. Again, not trying to buy no patterns right now. Because we spent so much money. And so I ended up trying to make my own brimless cap thing, and I was like, oh, I took a hat, I saw like somebody make a pattern based off a hat, and I'm trying to do that, and then I started sewing it. Before I finished it, I tried it on. I was like, do I need to? I finished it, or I did half of it, and I put it up to my head. I was like, I don't like this at all. Then I finished it, and I put it on, and I really didn't like it, and so I was like, so that's out. So what else can we do? And I remembered the mic is right here. I remembered at homecoming, the previous September, this past September, I was like, I remember seeing somebody with a biker cap on, and I remember seeing more people wearing biker caps, and I was like, that kind of has the same silhouette as that biker cap, that brimless cap, and I can just do that. And so I ended up finding a pattern off TikTok. Somebody used it, and I always knew I wanted to put this in the center. That's like my little emblem. It's part of my crown. This what makes it royal. Because I had this with some set of beads I had already had, and so that also was already a given. Even though it's not gold, it was still going to go regardless. And so I ended up finding this pattern. But I was like, of course, I'm going to change up the fabrics. That's that corduroy material I was talking about. Here's some more corduroy, and then just make it kind of makeshift, because butterflies are natural. I was thinking like natural colors, earthy tones kind of, and I know I was gonna put this wood on here to make it, because think like outdoors, woodsy, like that's what you're gonna get. Like imagine if butterflies constructed this for me, their princess. What materials would they use? And they would use wood. They would probably use something, maybe not this extravagant, not like actual fabric, but they would use something with some color and add flowers to it. And that's why I went with these fabrics that I went with and these tones I went with. And so I made out this design that I'm going to do with the little wood and stuff. And then I was like, it needs a little more, because these weren't on here first. And then I was like, what if I add like a little antenna? And so I added, I stacked these beads. I bought these beads a while back. They were like $1 or so back a while back. And so I stacked. Well, I put one here, I sewed that down, then I put another one, I sewed both of them down, and then I just glued this. And at first this wasn't on here. I'll show you from a picture. This was not on here, but then I was like, it looks a little short. It's giving caterpillar, not butterfly. And so eventually I ended up adding this on top to add that much more length and just make it that much more. And then I added this here in the middle, because this wasn't a part of the design either, but I was like, I want it to look regal, I want it to look like a crown, and that's why I added that. And so yeah, And also, these weren't supposed to have color as well, but I remember I did that on another project where I used these same beads and I put color on them. I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And y'all gonna see that again, by the way. And so that's why I did the color on those and just add that much more to it, because this is regal, this is royal, this is royalty. So it has to look the part. And so I hand sewed all of these beads on, meticulously paste them, measure them out to try to make sure that they looked, like they were in the same spot and stuff. And so we had to work on all that. And so by that point, we was like, we finished the look, but it was time to execute it. And so I executed everything, and that's how we got here. And that's control. That's what I got to say about control. Thank y'all for being with me on this journey. Watching these videos, I hope y'all watched all of them. Go back and watch the parts 1, 2, and 3. I was not expecting this to be this long, but once you let me just talk regular, that's what we gonna get. And so let me try to hurry up and stop talking, because this video get long. It's gonna take a long time to edit. And so thank y'all for listening, thank y'all for watching, and the pictures are coming this week after this is uploaded. The day after this is uploaded, let me not make no promises, but most likely, because I have the pictures edited, but I'm making a few revisions because some of them are a little dark and stuff. The day after you're watching this, expect to see them photos the next day. Okay? And I need y'all to go up for them. I need you to follow me on Instagram, c.a.h_4. Follow me on my TikTok, Chris the Brand. I'm changing my TikTok because I'm shadow banned on my original, but also follow me on my original at Panther Dreams, which was inspired by Barbie Dreams, but
There's nothing wrong with being a boy.
we don't talk about Bruno. But follow me on my page I'm trying to grow right now, Chris the Brand, on TikTok, and Instagram, c.a.h_4, and also my Epiphany page, that's Epiphany_444. That's my design page. You're gonna see and if I'm selling anything, I make anything to sell, or like you just want to keep up with my designs specifically, not so much me, that's the page you follow. And so yeah, thank y'all for watching and listening, and I can't wait for y'all to see the pictures, because I look really good in the video content, and I shot all that. We ain't gonna get into all the specifics of that. Y'all kind of know how my process looks when it comes to doing an indoor photo shoot in this room. And yeah, so see you later.